How's it you heard of the rapturous buzz of Halloween in the TIFF and Fantastic Fest? How did it feel?
It was very gratifying. I was at both screenings. I was at the screening in Toronto and then the screening in Austin. And I wanted to do Halloween to see if our system, the system of Blumhouse, could be impressed upon its franchise. It's been around for so long, and I think there have been a lot of misfires of Halloween besides the first movie, which is fantastic. And it was very, very satisfying to see that, at least with fans and with critics, the movie really worked, and the way that we approached making a Halloween really, really was effective. And so I was very gratified by that.
Oh, considering the reinvigorations and continuations like The Force Awakens and Blade Runner 2049, how is it that you were able to tiptoe the line between appealing to fans of the original as well as getting newcomers into the franchise?
I think it was really about being very cognizant of achieving that goal, and the way to achieve that goal was to mix the old and the new. So we took John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis, and we coupled them with David Gordon Green and Danny McBride. And I really feel like mixing that group of people, we were able to check both boxes. We were able to make a movie that felt like a Halloween movie, so it didn't feel like it should be called something else, but to also make a movie new enough that it didn't feel like we were ripping off Halloween. And I think it was really thanks to the people that we assembled that we pulled that off.
I also like the many self-referential moments in the film. Like, for example, the opening scene has like the deflated pumpkin and it comes back to life.
Yeah,
it's kind of like referring to maybe the sequels in a way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and
yeah, exactly.
Were there moments in the script that maybe they kind of veered too far to comedic in a way?
I believe, some people might think so. I really believe a great horror movie has a lot of comedy. If you look at actually Paranormal Activity 3, it's almost more comedy than scares. And the Insidious movies with Specs and Tucker, there's a lot of comedy in those movies. And I think that horror movies are scarier if you let the audience relax and laugh through the course of it, because you can't keep someone's adrenaline at a 10 for 90 minutes. You've got to kind of bring it down and bring it up. And so I was pleased at the jokes. There are a lot of jokes in the movie, and I think that makes the movie as a whole scarier, and I think it makes it work better.
I also like the characterizations in the film. For example, Haluk Bilginer's performance, as the new Loomis. He reminded me of Oliver Reed's performance in The Brood.
Right, totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
exactly. But what I really liked is the Strode women in the film, especially how past traumas of the first film, the event had affected them in a way. For example, one is basically drowning in the event of how she felt that way. One is sheltered and one is in denial. So was the trauma always in the script, or was it factored in from outside factors like?
No, the trauma was in the script. The unique idea of the script, which I think is very effective and I think really comes across in the movie, is most horror movies are about something horrible happening. And this is about what happens 40 years after something horrible is happening. Now, new horrible things clearly happen 40 years later, but it's about examining the effects of trauma on a person and on money, and on a person's children and their children, on 3 generations of people 40 years after this awful event. And that was one of the really compelling things about the script for me that I really was interested to explore.
It must have been incredible to collaborate with John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, how was the collaborative process within, how to introduce something new to them who've been in the franchise for so long?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. It was scary, I was intimidated to do that. John's wife is a woman named Sandy Carpenter who was great, and she was very involved. So a lot of times I would try things on I would call his wife and run something by and say, how do you think John's going to react to that? And Jamie was easier because she was more full in. John, he came in and he was a little trepidatious about it. We won him over. Now I think he's very glad that he did it. He's very proud of the movie. But it was harder with him. But certainly, we approached it carefully and delicately. And really, the leaders of this movie were really John and Jamie Lee Curtis, and we followed their lead through the process of making this movie.
And there's one question I really have to ask this, me being a Vietnamese Australian, I have to ask about the banh mi scene. the scene where the two police officers were conversing and they talk about
Oh,
the
yes.
new sandwich.
Right.
Yeah, how did that come into play in the
I
film?
think that's got to be Danny. I don't know where I don't know where he got that from. It definitely feels like Danny wrote that. It's hilarious. I don't know, but there must be a specific story behind it. I just don't know what it is.
Oh, anything to bring that into the mainstream.
That was good, right? I like that too.
Wow, and one thing, you produced many horror movies, and you produced some films with children like The Tooth Fairy. And would you ever produce a horror movie for children?
I have a movie that we're doing called Spooky Jack. And it's an animated movie, and it is a horror movie for kids. It's a scary animated, but scary in a light way, in a funny way. Scary animated movie for kids. So the answer to your question is yes, and we're doing it.
Oh, can you tell us a bit more about that?
Spooky Jack. Spooky Jack is probably can't tell you too much more about it. It's about a make-believe world of monsters that come to life when this little boy goes to sleep, and he, with the help of his family, kind of fights them off. But that's the general gist of it.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun, especially
fun.
with all the Goosebumps-inspired stories out there. And that would be
Yeah,
great.
it's in that vein. Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
Okay, awesome. Well, I guess that's about it. All right,
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no
Nice to
worries.
meet you.